Newsflash, Black and White Network, the border is wide, wide open. The whole world, if you want to come over here, you can pretty much get through. It's been a complete disaster over there at the border. We've done countless videos on the disaster that is the creation of Joe Biden and Democrats. However, they're not taking any responsibility whatsoever for what they have actually done at the border. Now, Kamala Harris was put in charge of the border by Beijing Biden, and she's never been to the border. And actually, one of the left-wing news outlets actually told her that, I believe like a year ago. I don't remember exactly which one. They said, you haven't been to the border. She says, well, I haven't been to Europe either. That was a complete disaster. This country is a laughingstock, folks. And this is the most incompetent administration probably in U.S. history. It does not get any worse than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. However, they're going to have to put the blame somewhere because, of course, they're not actually going to blame themselves. Kamala Harris now is actually blaming, you guessed it, Republicans. Here we go. Kamala Harris blames GOP for Biden's border crisis. This is on the Post-Millennial. Now, I don't know how they're blaming the GOP for this because when Donald Trump was in office, guess what? That border was the most secure border we probably ever had. And I'm dead serious about that. Donald Trump enforced immigration laws. Joe Biden isn't. It's just that simple. But let's read this, guys. During a recent interview with NPR, Kamala Harris blamed Biden's border crisis on congressional Republicans' unwillingness to pass legislation aimed at solving the issue. What legislation needs to be passed? We already have laws on the book. If you want to come into this country and claim asylum, you must go through a legal port of entry. That is already on the books. But the Democrats want people to come in at will from anywhere. Folks, all you got to do is show up at the border and say, hey, I know I crossed illegally, but I want to come in. They're going to say, all right, come on in. Come on in. We give you a court date. I'm not going to show up. Oh, no, it doesn't matter. We're going to give you a court date. Just show up. 90% of those people never show up. Why? Because they don't have an asylum claim. These people are economic migrants. And Kamala Harris knows that. Donald Trump said, hey, Mexico, you letting all these illegals cross your border to get into our country? We're going to hold you accountable. And guess what? Illegal immigration in this country was almost at a standstill under Donald Trump. It was just that simple. But now Kamala Harris wants to blame the GOP. Harris, who stated that the border was secure. Okay, if the border is secure, why you need to pass legislation? Okay. Anyway, Harris stated that the border was secure, has been repeatedly criticized by numerous Congress members who have spent far more time at the southern border than she has because she hasn't been at the border. Quote, sadly, what we have seen in particular from Republicans in Congress, Harris told NPR's Asma Khalid, is an unwillingness to engage in meaningful reform that could actually fix a lot of what we're witnessing. She went on to suggest that the key to success was, quote, reform our immigration system, but argued that this can only happen through Congress in terms of the passage of an immigration bill that allows for a lengthy pathway to citizenship and a legal presence in the country, close quote. In other words, she wants to reward people for coming into the country illegally. Now, any Republicans, folks, that actually agree to any type of terms like that, you need to vote them out. We should not be rewarding people for breaking our laws. I don't believe that any person that comes into our country illegally should ever get citizenship. Never. They broke the law. Now, when it comes to kids through no fault of their own that were brought here as illegals, They're little kids. I'm not going to put the blame on them. However, this is what I would actually do. I'm still not going to make them citizens. I'm not. I know that a lot of these kids, I don't know if they actually speak the language from their home country. They've never been there. But this is what I would do. Give them a legal status in the country, but they will never, ever get citizenship. In other words, just make them a permanent resident. I believe that's the dreamers. They can never vote in this country. They can't. They're not citizens, but they have a legal status here in the country. Now, what Obama did, trying to, with the Dreamers Act or whatever it was called, I don't agree with a pathway to citizenship for them. They were still here illegally. However, it was still no fault of their own. It's their parents that actually did that, or traffickers. I would actually make them permanent residents, nothing more. They cannot vote in our elections. That's what I would do. But anyway, quote, we're going to do everything that's within our ability as the executive branch, Harris stated. That means putting more agents on the border is appropriate so we can manage what might be an influx, close quote. No matter how many agents they actually put at the border, you can put 100,000, 1 million people at the border. If you're not enforcing immigration laws, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Kamala Harris is the worst, number 2 in the history of our country. She is terrible at her job. She is pretty much an affirmative action hire by Beijing Biden. Nothing more. Just like Karine Jean-Pierre. She's probably the worst White House press secretary ever. He keeps hiring people based off skin color, gender, sexuality. Look what happened to Beijing Biden's non-binary Department of Energy guy. Stealing stuff at airports, but I digress. Anyway, back to Kamala Harris here. She noted that the White House is working on, quote, increasing the work that we have been increasing around arresting human smugglers, as well as expanding the work we have been doing that has been about the partners and the allies together on an international level. More and more of the illegal aliens, I'm going to call them that, who have entered the U.S. as of late have not come from Central America, but from surrounding areas and even overseas, thus increasing the need for multinational cooperation. Harris's interview was conducted under the assumption that the Supreme Court would strike down Title 42, which allowed officials to remove illegal aliens from the United States for health reasons, such as potential exposure to COVID-19. Title 42 means nothing. I've been on record, folks. It should end. Just end it. End it and enforce immigration laws. Even with Title 42, folks, you still have a record number of illegal aliens coming into this country. What good has Title 42 actually done? Nothing. Because Joe Biden, he doesn't actually follow any laws. Now, the Supreme Court says, hey, Title 42 stays, but what does that mean to Beijing Biden? He's still going to let these people in with open arms. People that break into our country illegally. And nobody's holding him accountable. It's going to be very, very interesting, guys. When the House GOP comes into power here in the next few weeks or so, are they actually going to hold Beijing Biden accountable? I mean, what Joe Biden has done at the border by ignoring immigration laws, to me, that's impeachable. I mean, that should be like top of business when the Republicans take over in the House. That should be one of the top things that they do. Impeach Biden. I know there's talk about impeaching Alejandro Mayorkas. No, Alejandro Mayorkas is following the orders of Joe Biden. This is Joe Biden's fault, guys. Kamala Harris, she wants to blame Republicans because Democrats, they don't need to be held accountable for their actions. Oh, no. This is the Republicans' fault, even though when the Republicans had the power and the presidency, the border was completely secure. But Democrats get in control. They control, as of right now, the House, the Senate, and the White House. But yet it's Republicans' fault. Really? Okay. That's just my thoughts on this. What do you guys think of this? Black and White Network fans, let us know what you think about all this in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And we'll catch you next time.